welcome to the Spotlight series. On today's episode, we have Emma Weise from Fresh Sage in South Africa. I'm so happy to have Emma on the show. Emma uses brand strategy to create fresh, impactful brands. And if you want an example of that, you can check out mine. How hot is it? As a brand strategist, she provides fresh solutions that make an impact, align to your overall business strategy, and grow your business. Thank you so much for being here, Emma.
Awesome to be here. Looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, let's do this. So our hot topic today is branding, which is, this is your jam, this is your zone. So fabulous that you're here to talk about it. So let's start off with the very obvious question. What is branding?
Well, branding is, everyone thinks branding, they think logo, and they think slapping a logo on anything and everything, and that is what they need to create their brand. But Renee, it's so much more than just a logo, right?
Totally.
So my favorite analogy is, think about your favorite coffee shop. Mm-hmm. When you go into your favorite coffee shop, did you walk in the door because of the logo on the door? Okay, well, maybe you did, but likelihood is not so much. It might be because a friend told you about it, or you walk past and you're like, you smelt the coffee, or you just liked the look of the space. And then when you went into the space and the way the barista smiled at you, or the brew of the coffee, or the comfortableness of the seat, or even the person that you were sitting with in the restaurant, all of those things create a brand experience and the feeling of the brand.
Yeah, it is. It's more about the experience and the feeling, isn't it? And I will add that, when it comes to a cafe, the barista's facial hair is a high factor in determining the quality of the coffee.
Very, very interesting point, yes.
I don't know if this is a Melbourne thing, but if you've got the hipster beard going on, then it's it's going
to be a well-crafted cup of coffee, good quality beans.
I don't know, is it the same for you in South Africa or not?
Getting there, not so much.
Okay.
But I've definitely experienced a couple of baristas with beards. So yes, I can see how that would be a critical factor in your decision. But yeah, so the brand is the whole experience, not just a logo. And even more as you're going online, especially, we're talking about women, or not necessarily women, but people in business who are building their online business, right, Renee? So as you going into this online world, you don't actually have the brick and mortar store. So it's even more important to create that experience in every single touch point that you have.
Yeah. But why? Why is it important? Like for our audience, for example, being coaches, thought leaders, experts, for them as business owners, why is it important for them specifically to actually give a shit about creating their brand and doing a good job of it?
Yes. And can I give a precursor before I answer that question?
Sure, please.
My precursor is that when you're starting out as a coach or an expert, you're building up your expertise, I actually don't recommend you get too hung up on the logo or the brand at that stage. You've got to build your business first. You've got to test out your models. You've got to figure out what kind of systems are working for you. Then once you've got that in place, then you do your branding. Now, it sounds very strange coming from a brander, but trust me, if you're going to create your brand up front, you're going to then test out the system and inevitably change something or 500 things. Then you're going to need to rebrand again 6 months down the line, which is a big waste of money. Rather test it out and then get your brand set and then run with it, right? So the reason why you need to give a shit is once you've gone through testing out those models, you've built your expertise. Oftentimes my clients have been like, okay, well, I grabbed a DIY here, I bought this template there, I got this person to work on that piece and this person to work on that piece. And, you've slapdashed, you put a couple of plasters where they needed to be, which is fine to get you started. But the reason you need to give a shit about branding now is because this is when you want to actually leverage that expertise. You want to position yourself as an expert. And I say that at this level, inevitably what happens is that my clients are pouring this golden, well-crafted method cup classique champagne into a plastic cup and serving it to their guest. And they wonder why their guest is looking at this plastic cup thinking, really?
Yeah.
So the reason you want to think about it at this stage is for your own credibility and to position yourself as an expert and to leverage the solid gold that is already there, essentially.
Yeah. So then how do we do that? How can we actually build credibility with our brand? What does that look like?
You know what I say to people starting out is just do your name in a very simple, clean typeface, or the business name. Like, don't even worry about that for now. Think about a couple of colors and some type just to get you started. Like, keep it simple, one or two. And just by narrowing down those things, it'll help you create a little bit more consistency across all the platforms. And I think that's what's going to be key. You see, what I'm finding is that, like, when you do one thing here, one thing there, one thing here, one thing there, you start looking like a bit of a branding fruit salad.
Or dog's breakfast.
Sometimes it ends up being a little bit of that. Yeah. And then what happens is that when you're doing too much, it impacts your credibility and it impacts on how your clients see you. So you don't want to have, like, they go into one space, they see one thing, and the next week they see something else, because that lack of consistency across all the platforms is what's going to hurt your credibility. So it's about, like, start off getting narrow and building consistency across all the platforms.
Yeah.
But then when you've moved past that starting out stage,
so can I just sort of go back to that consistency point? So
Sure.
When you're talking about consistency, what does that look like? So are we having, you're saying we've picked out a couple of fonts. So even before we've had proper branding done, but we're doing it ourselves. If we're in that DIY stage, we pick a color palette. I've in the past done, Google image search of color palette, if I want red, color palette red, and then see what comes up and pick one, right?
Yeah. And then send it to Emma and say, I want this one, thanks. And Emma's like, Let's expand on who you are. And I suppose that's, so when you're starting out, what you need to think about is the kind of brand experience you want to create. So what is the kind of experience you're going to hang your hat on? What is important to you and your business? So, like in your case, Renee, you were focused on being fiery, lively. Red was a color, and it's all about hot change, right?
Yeah.
And that is the experience that you create in all the touch points. And it's a bit playful. Okay. So you then thinking about everything, not just logos and colors, but when somebody gets on the line with you, when you send a proposal through to somebody, when you send them that invoice, how do you bring those feelings and emotions through in all of those touch points?
Yeah.
So when I'm saying touch points, it's all the way, it's down to everything. Remember, the coffee shop isn't just the logo, it's the seat, the way the coffee's made, the barista's smile, it's everything that makes
beard.
up the barista's beard. Sorry, behind the smile.
Hipster rating.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, it's about building into every touch point.
Yeah.
And that's when you're starting out. Then, of course, when we get to the stage where you're ready to actually brand, my first port of call is making sure that brand strategy and the deliverables that you create for your brand are aligned to your business strategy. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying there, because it sounds like words, terminology.
Jargon.
Yeah, jargon.
Translate.
So don't focus on making something pretty. You want to make sure that the business strategy, the goals, the vision, the dream you have, that your brand will help you get there. So you can create something pretty that people are going to like, or that's trendy, but then it might take you on a completely different path to where your vision is. and the goals you're wanting to achieve. And then you wonder, you're sitting back 2 years down the line and you're looking at this business and you're like, I don't like my clients. I don't like the way that I serve them. I don't like this business I've created. Get me the hell out of here. Right?
Yeah.
Because your brand strategy hasn't met your business strategy. So the two need to align to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And then the other big tip around branding, and it's something I feel quite strongly, is that when I build a brand, it needs to attract the ideal client, yes. It needs to align to your business dreams and goals, yes. But the third critical secret success factor in there is that it needs to reflect the person and their values. Yeah. Especially if you are a online, like a solopreneur, or you're building a bit of an empire, and but it's an online business. There are so many online businesses out there that the only thing that's going to differentiate you is you. That's what makes you unique, right? So I love the way that my husband describes this. And when he eventually figured out what I did, it was like, so kudos to him. So I use it in most interactions with my clients because they understand what I'm talking about. But he said, it's like Emma dives into the heart of who a person is and then pulls that alive and brings it out in the brand. And that's essentially what I do.
Yes, and that's so true. And you know, that's what I really feel like you've done for me. And, you know, for those of you actually watching the video and not just listening to the podcast, you know, you can see my backdrop behind me is branded. My clothing is, you know, in my brand red. Like, I'm accessorized. Like, my red is everywhere. I've taken what Emma did for me and extended it everywhere. Look, even nail polish.
Love.
It's everywhere, right? Because and, you know, it simplifies my life so much. I don't have to think, oh, what color am I going to put here, or what am I going to wear for my podcast interviews today? You know, it's very clear. I put on a black top with red accessories and I'm done. Like, it's not that hard.
No. And you know what I love?
Really simple.
Yes. And your brand, Renee, is so aligned and attuned to who you are. So we knew the fiery red was there, but the other color elements that support it and just bring in a bit of playful, but a bit of serious, but a bit of power, and it all just sort of comes together to help people really share their passion. Yeah. It's golden. And it's amazing how many people have come to me and they're like, I love Renee's brand. Mine will be very different, but hers just really stands out. And it really does stand out because it's you, and who you are permeates through that whole brand. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And that was one of my questions, because people so often will say to me, oh my God, I love your branding. Who did your branding? I'm like, Emma, go talk to Emma. She's awesome. I love her work. And so, and that was, you know, my part, you know, you've already partly answered this, but I'll ask it again anyway, because I think there's probably more on why. But why do you think that my brand is working so well for me?
So definitely a lot of the heart of who you are is permeated through your brand. And that's like half the battle won already. But the other reason your brand works so beautifully for you is because we've narrowed it down to, you know, certain colors, certain logos, and the tone and message behind the brand. We've distilled that essence of you and your brand. We created a template and a look and a concept that you would then go and implement. Yeah. And what I'm trying to get to is that you're implementing your brand consistently everywhere. So it creates memorability and recognition over time, because you haven't changed your look every week. You've kept the same look. And when did we do your brand, Renee? 2 years ago?
November 2015.
Oh my gosh. So we're heading towards year number 3. Yeah. Year number 3 that this rebrand has been in place. Yeah. And it's lasted over the test of time because there are some key solid elements. It's easy to work with. It takes the guesswork out for you as a brander. But then it's made it easy for you to implement across all touch points. Yeah. And something I keep saying to my clients is that I'm setting you up with the template to give you the guide and the look. So like I don't want to just give you colors and a logo and a font and some patterns and textures. That means nothing to you. You need to see how it all comes together.
Yeah.
So your social template was your like, okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. And then you're able to go and give it to your VA or your graphic designer, and they can go and run with it and implement it across all the platforms so that you just create one consistent look everywhere.
Yeah.
I hopped on consistency, but I do feel like that is what helps you, one, be memorable, and it builds your credibility because, you know, I find that if you change it too often, people start looking at you and they're like, well, is she this or is she that? But you're one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I just say one of the things, one of the things that I found worked really well, and, you know, in the implementation of, you know, yes, you showed me, and this was something that I think, you know, was one of the reasons Emma stands out in terms of doing the branding is, Emma didn't just give me a branding guidelines PDF and say, there you go, done. And it just had the fonts and the colors and the logo in it. You know, that's all good and well.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that, right? It was actually, you know, Emma showing me this is how it looks in a PowerPoint, or this is how it looks on a social media template or whatever. So, you know, you'll see in a lot of my social media stuff that it's very consistent. We've got my fire background with the little light glow bulb thing, and you know, share your passion logo, and there'll be a photo of me sometimes if there is, but the photo of me, and this is like, I think this is a really important thing that some people might miss. If you get your branding photos done, send them off to deepetch.com, deepetch.com, and get your background cut out of all those photos, because then you put yourself on top of your branded background, and every time your photos are going to look on brand because you've actually then integrated the two things. And my team have done such a great job of taking what you did, Emma, and then using my branded photos and just blending them together.
Brilliant.
It was a love match.
You look beautiful online. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think brand imagery, so you are sometimes in real world networking events and that kind of stuff, so you would dress appropriately and position your brand, but brand imagery online needs to, you know, so many people don't put enough thought and care into that. So you want to make sure that, like, the colors that you're wearing don't clash with your branding. And then you suddenly look like that, because it's subtle things like that actually create subliminal sub-messaging that your client looks at thinking, okay, this doesn't feel right, but I don't know what doesn't feel right, but something doesn't feel right. It kind of makes you feel a little fake. And that's what you want to prevent. You want to make sure that the underlying message is solid across everything.
Yeah.
And yes, something like the clothing you're wearing can actually impact it. So Renee, in a bright pink polka dot dress with yellow spots against her red background, would leave you looking at the image thinking, don't know about this girl. Something's not right. I don't know why. Because, you know, we are attuned to good branding over time. You know, in the past, good branding came through a magazine that you would see every once in a while, and maybe a logo on a building. It's evolved so much. And, you know, we see branding everywhere we go, in our Facebooks, on every social platform we're at, on blogs, on PDFs, magazines, books. It's everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Go to a networking event, there's branding on the walls, there's branded documents. It's just, branding is everywhere.
Yeah.
So our mind has become attuned to, this looks great, or something's not right here.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that message really is consistent.
Yes. And I think that, you know, and I've seen some of this happen, you know, with some other entrepreneurs that I've seen online in, you know, they jump in and start using Canva, which, you know, I think Canva is a great tool when harnessed and used well. But you can see I
use Canva with my clients because it's the easiest way for them to actually implement the brand.
Totally. As long as you've got branded templates in there. So what I've found is, you know, people going in and then taking an existing Canva template and then just adding their logo to it, and then like putting their logo, which might be red, black and white, on top of a yellow background, but then it's not like it's then got like this white square around the back of it. And I'm just like, it looks like you've just dumped something on top of something. Like it just, it doesn't look.
It ends up looking like a grade. Yeah. And it ends up looking like a grade 7. What are those things called? Orals or like project.
Yeah.
And you really don't want it to look like a grade 7 project. So, I agree. Or what happens is that they get, and it's happened to me. I don't go into Canva with a clear focus. Oh my gosh, 2 hours later, I lift my head from the computer. I look at what I've done. I'm like, huh?
What is that?
This rabbit warren I disappeared down of 15,000 templates. And the stuff I slapped together afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not working, eh? So it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So understand that it is a tool just like any other tool, but it needs to be harnessed and used properly. I agree.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
And then I suppose that's the third like hot tip. So I actually haven't run through my hot tips effectively. I've been talking about them, and maybe I should go through them now quickly. Hey,
go, give us a recap.
So the first one is focus on attracting the right client by making sure that your brand strategy matches your business strategy. That's the first one. Okay, so let's make sure that we're going down the right garden path. Then positioning yourself as an expert, making sure that your words and your visuals match, and just like actually leveraging and positioning the expertise that you have. And then the third one is making sure that you implement and are consistent across all platforms, and that you actually share your expertise and you're actually out there. Because it doesn't help having, like Renee, if I'd given her brand and she tucked it in a suitcase somewhere for later one day maybe, and she never actually put it out there, it wouldn't help her create the consistency. So it's about actually being visible and putting yourself out there and sharing across all the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. So true. And there's no way I'd be getting all the compliments on my brand if I wasn't actually showing the world my sexy brand.
Well, there you go. Exactly. That's exactly it.
So yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Awesome.
And those 3 hot tips will help you will leverage that yourself as an expert.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I hope those have helped. Hey, I've got into quite a lot of I carried on discussing all the interesting nooks and crannies of branding.
It's all juicy.
But I think
it's all juicy, Emma.
Yeah. Oh, and I could talk for days.
Really? Really? No, I couldn't.
Yeah. Okay, no, we won't let you do that today. I'll behave myself, Renee. I'll behave.
Awesome. So if people want to find out more information about what you do, Emma, where can they go?
Well, it depends on which platform they're playing on. So I'm across a couple of platforms. If you're on Instagram, it would be at Fresh Sage SA. If you are on Facebook, there's a page as well for Fresh Sage. And then I'm even in the LinkedIn space, Renee. Can you believe?
You're even on LinkedIn.
Even there. But there's a group there. So it's called the LinkedIn Ladies Lounge. Sorry, guys, it's just for the ladies. But if you're a lady, welcome to pop on over and check out that space as well.
Brilliant. Awesome. And we'll make sure all those links are in the show notes as well, so you can easily access Emma in all the places, even LinkedIn.
Even LinkedIn. Well, you know what? LinkedIn is something I avoided for a bit. And then my husband said, you know what? LinkedIn's kind of like the new Facebook for business. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Let's go try again.
Yeah. I think it's coming into its own. Yeah. I'm definitely not leveraging that space well at this point. I have a profile. I'm consistently posting. Well, my team is consistently posting on my behalf, but I'm not really engaged and active there. So, it's not getting the love that it needs, obviously, to do well. But, it's
getting a lot more love than most people do because you're actually posting regularly. So there is that.
Yeah. There's that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for your time today. That's been really valuable. I love talking branding with you. It is your jam.
Oh, absolutely. And always fun catching up with you, Ren.
You too, Emma. So thanks for being on the show. I'm Renee Hasseltine from Share Your Passion. Thanks for listening.